How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and today we're going to be talking about CTRM. But before I get started, I got to put out the disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice. So when you do invest, just know that you're doing it at your own risk. So today, CTRM had a pretty solid day in the market, considering how the conditions were. They had some catalysts that came up, and we also saw that reflected in the stock price. So what I'm going to be doing, like I normally do in my videos, I'm going to be going over the technical analysis. I'm also going to be going over the news and just a brief overview of how the market conditions were. I'll be talking to you guys right afterwards. We're going to be doing a technical analysis on CTRM. So we're looking at it from yesterday. So this was yesterday, February the 17th. And then here's today at February the 18th. And we'll make adjustments as we go forward. So one of the things that we need to look at, and I always stress and talk about in my videos, take a look at what was going down yesterday on the 17th. What do we see here in this particular area? This is support area, right? Going between 118 to 119. If you notice this over the past 2 days, look at this. It's seen this area quite a bit. And I want you to keep that in your mind as we go through this technical analysis so you can see how price action goes on with CTRM and just in stocks in general, so you get an idea of seeing where support lines are and where resistance lines are. So from yesterday, we had a support area between 118 to 119, ended up making a big move up to 127 and then meeting a resistance area, knocking the price back down right below VWAP here, and it's at 1.19. But what do we know? It's a support area. So we move back up here to 122. So if you notice, this happened a lot yesterday, right? Look at this, that 121, that 122 area. So now, when we look at what the low of the day was, again, it wasn't the greatest day in the market, and a lot of stocks ended up going down around this certain point around 1140. Right? So, but again, this was a great area to add, because if we look down here at the RSI, it's 29. So we know when it's close to 30 that it is oversold, and is usually a good point where you can look and start adding, which a lot of people did. That's why we had a strong move all the way from 1140 all the way up. Sorry, 1140 from $1.11 all the way up here to $1.22. So that's the reason why we had that strong move. Literally kept that going all the way, as you can see, up into 209 yesterday. And as we go forward, as we get closer to the end of the market, and it not being the greatest, you see a lot of sell-offs were happening and ended up finishing here at $1.17. All right. So now let's take a look what was going down in the pre-market as of today. So as you can see here, look at this area. What do we call this again? This is a support area, right? So now, as we go forward, going in today, early in the morning, we ended up getting this low down here, $1.12. And what do we call this again? In pre-market, what was going down today is a support area. Let me open up the chart a bit more. So if we open up this chart, look at this. It kept bouncing off this area, right? So it was over here around a 111, 112, bounced up, revisited again, bounced up, revisited again, bounced up. And then literally had this area, and knowing this is a buy area because they hit it on multiple different occasions, and it kept bouncing and recovering. So then we had our news catalyst that literally got CTRM flying first thing in the morning. We also got to look at some economics here. There's also the job report news that came out as well. So that did have an effect on the conditions of the market. But one of the things we also got to look at, we had a strong move from, I opened up at around $1.15, $1.14, and ended up making that strong move to $1.37. And what happened? We end up hitting a resistance area. Then we came down, we had some sell-offs here at the top. But again, look at this action here, right? So we literally stayed in this range, right? But here's what happened. It didn't last that long, right? So we ended up going down here to $1.30, right? So once we got down to $1.30, moved back up again. Like I was saying before, the first couple hours, sometimes it's an hour and a half, the beginning is a very psychological when it comes to regular trading hours. All right. It is a psychological game because when there's a lot of momentum and there's a lot of buying, the stock is going to shoot up. And then you have people who are going to sell, traders, short-term swing traders and so forth, especially considering how it was yesterday. All right. So now here, if we look over here at 10:11, came all the way down right here to around $1.18. And what is this? I'm going to keep telling you guys because I want you guys to learn from my videos. Support area. Even go further back. Let's go further back on the beginning of yesterday. Right? Support area. Look, right? That is a consistent area where we've seen it bounce off. So many of you would have been like, hey, you know what? I'm going to add to my position, right? So let's start moving forward. So we start moving up. We have a bit of momentum here. We get up to $1.26. Goes back down to $1.21. Back up here to $1.23. So we have a range of $1.22 to $1.23, right? And what do we have here? A support area. Because look, support broke through support here because as you can see, there wasn't a lot of support around here, right? So that's why I continued over there. But let's take a look at this. Where do we see it again? So we had support here around the early 11 o'clock, right? We had another support here around 12:20 to about 12:26, right? 29. We meet that area again right here around the twos, right? But the good thing about it, what we started noticing, we did spend a little bit of time above it, right? We were still below VWAP, but again, this just shows you that, hey, we have a lot of support in these areas. So when we break below that area, it's usually a good time if many people are going to be adding to their positions. Even if we take a look at the RSI, right? So this kind of gives us a good indication of price action, right? When we go over here at $1.20, let's take a look at the RSI. It's at 27. And we already know when it's 30 and below, it is oversold, right? So that just means, hey, this is not a bad place to be looking at if you decide to add, all right? You're not paying a premium or anything like that. So then when we move back up here, again, this is another support area. And this is what I said to keep an eye on also in the beginning. We're at $1.21, right? Look at that. We've met this area on many different occasions, but towards the end of the day, no surprise. Like I said, it's only about a difference of like 1 cent. Like we had a sell off, right? Usually around this time here, like 15 to 20 minutes before close, we have a lot of people as far as traders, short term, so forth, that are closing out their positions. Many are not trying to hold, right? Let's be honest here, especially if you're in this for the short term. So part of the reasons where we see why this is important to take note of, it's a support area, and it's part of the reasons why as soon as when we got into after hours, made a strong move here to 130. But as we take a look at this 130 area, the high was 137 on the day, right? I want you to keep that in mind, that 130. Let's continue. So as we can see in after hours, we're not into that deep. As you can see, it's like 5:03 p.m. After hours finishes at 8 o'clock. It is lower volume and so forth. But as you can see, more support, right? We're building that. We had that support there between 124 and 125. But what do we notice? We had that going on throughout the day as well, right? That's what I want you guys to really pay attention to when you watch these charts, all right? So we got a little bit of, a little bit of sell-off going on. But look what's going on right now at 5:04 p.m. It's going at around 126, 125. That seems to be the area. So again, if we end up closing the day at 125, 126, that looks pretty good, right? One of the things I want you guys to pay attention to, if tomorrow, if we're able to reclaim that 130 and go above it, we already know that there's a good chance we can reclaim 134, right? And if there's a lot more momentum and there's a lot more volume and there's a lot more trading going on, then we can end up getting up to 136, 137, and even touching the 140. If tomorrow ends up being bearish, it is a Friday, which is known that a lot of people start selling off and so forth because, many, again, short-term traders are not trying to hold this stock over the weekend. Let's be real here. Then we definitely will have the opportunity to test those support areas like I've been showing you guys. And this is what I want to show you. We already know we have a support area around the $11s, the $13s, the $12 areas and stuff like that. We've tested these areas and we've bounced it right off, as you can see here. So if you're looking to say maybe you might want to get in at a cheaper price, that's an area to actually keep an eye on. Maybe even seeing if it even goes lower, depending if there's a lot of momentum going in a downward direction due to a lot of selling, then you might even be able to get it even cheaper than $1.11. All right. So definitely we're going to be looking for what's going to be happening tomorrow. I know we've had consecutive red days, so we want to see it being followed up by a green day, right? But again, tomorrow's Friday, so that's something we need to take into account and so forth. All right. So now let's talk about the catalyst that went down. So for Castor Maritime, they announced a vessel acquisition. Part of the reason why we had that strong pop in the morning. So CTRM, a diversified global shipping company, announces that it entered through a separate wholly owned subsidiary into an agreement to purchase a 2010 Korean-built Castor Max dry bulk carrier from an unaffiliated third party for a purchase of $14.8 million. The acquisition is expected to be consummated by taking delivery of the vessel sometime in the end of the first quarter or in the beginning of the second quarter of this year, and is subject to the satisfaction of certain customary closing conditions. Here's what the CEO has to say. We are very happy to announce the acquisition of our third Castor Max dry bulk vessel and remain committed to our plan of steadily deploying capital and growing our fleet. Upon completion of all of our recently announced acquisitions, our fleet will consist of 12 vessels, doubling in size since the beginning of 2021. We are working diligently in identifying and taking advantage of attractive opportunities presented to us across our vessel sizes and segments. So also to touch on, as you can see, we ended up being almost up 5% on the day and also seeing a little bit of moves. Let me just refresh the page here. Yeah. So as far as what's going on in after hours, you can see at the time of this recording, we're up, 2.48%. All right. So to kind of show you guys as well how the market was not the greatest today. On the NASDAQ, we were down, 100 points. On the Dow, we were down 119 points. And on the S&P 500, we were down 17 points. So these are all things to take into consideration. If we had a bullish green day today, that I definitely would have seen CTRM test that $1.40 range. No doubt in my mind at all. But at the end of the day, we still had an upward moving up, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how far CTRM can go moving forward from here. All right. So there you have it. So as far as for long-term investors or even medium-term investors, the way how things are looking, it's actually looking really good. And I was very impressed from what I saw from CTRM today with all things considered. As far as anyone who's doing a swing trade or might be in this play short term, again, you might want to start looking at the way how things are moving, especially going into Friday, which is usually known as a sell-off day. But anyways, aside from all of that, like I said, I'm still bullish on CTRM. I can see them getting some things done. I can see the company is focused on growth and they're taking advantage of opportunities. And that's one of the things you want to look for when you're looking at investing in a company long term. All right. So the joke of the day is going to be coming in the next video after this one. So I'll be telling you guys then. All right. Peace.